Hi YouTube! So I was doing my regular thing browsing through YouTube and, like all of you watching this now, came across the one marvelous scene. As usual, I want to jump on this bandwagon. The scene of the MCU I wanted to share and discuss came immediately to mind. And while it is not from the conventional blockbuster films, I think that this scene really envelops what we see and experience in the MCU. In Season 2 of the tragically cancelled Agent Carter TV series. To put this scene in context, you need to know that leading up to this scene, Whitney Frost injured the lively and colorful Anna Jarvis.
No. It's not necessary. We're not monsters. I don't think this concerns you.
He will die if you take him. He needs
answers. And I'm going to help him get those.
You won't get away with this. She won't stop coming for you.
I don't doubt that. I can, however, slow her down.
We gotta go. We gotta go. Anna! Anna! Oh, are you all right? Help!
In his anger and hurt, Jarvis ignores the protocol that Peggy directs him to follow at the bomb site and shoots Whitney Frost, who is basically unaffected by the bullet. Afterward, Peggy and Jarvis are captured and thrown into a van which they escape.
Now.
You're gonna pay for that. Plug him!
Wait!
He has what I want.
But now they
And
are
the key to
stranded in the
controlling
middle
him
of the California desert,
control
which
those
brings us
lives.
to the scene in question.
Keep them alive.
Jarvis, the cool, composed, and, as my childhood best friend has described, unflappable butler, loses his temper and throws a fit at Peggy, like a 3-year-old at the store. Everything he says really hurts. While his temper tantrum is infantile and ridiculous for a grown man, he is Peggy's best friend, and he knows how to hurt her. The culminating moment of his tantrum is when he says,
Yet everyone around you dies.
This has been something Peggy has been trying to reconcile in her own life, and already sits like a heavy weight in the back of her mind. From her brother Michael's death, to what she honestly believes was Steve Rogers, aka Captain America's death, to her innocent civilian roommate Colleen, and Chief Dooley in the first season. She is already hurting. In fact, the series shows how she's afraid to make new friends because she sees that those around her do tend to have an increased chance of dying. She is only able to start confronting this reality in the first season when she talks to Angie at the diner. Even with all of this trauma being thrown at her face, Peggy doesn't lose her temper back at Jarvis. She remembers how it all felt at the beginning. She recognizes that his feelings are valid, and yet at the same time is able to put him in his place as she reminds him that going on these quote-unquote adventures was something he wanted, something she had advised against. It's a real slap in the face kind of moment, and that's when Jarvis lets himself be vulnerable. He explains that Anna's injuries mean she will never have children. Peggy's previously comment about knowing nothing of loss is suddenly invalid. It's interesting to note that Peggy believed that Jarvis knew nothing of loss, considering he fought in World War II, and thus surely would have lost friends and comrades. He even lost his status of an honorable discharge from the military after sneaking Anna out of Europe because she is Jewish. So what this scene leaves us with on the surface level is two very hurt, very vulnerable friends in the desert, and how they react to their adverse circumstances. Peggy is in survival mode. Her days in the SSR taught her to survive. As she says, they'll follow the sun to the beach. And Jarvis doesn't want to accept the difficult circumstances, and thus breaks. I said earlier that I think this scene envelops the MCU, and I mean that in the literal franchise. We as an audience are the metaphorical Edwin Jarvis, and the MCU is thusly comparable to his adventures with Peggy. Through it, we see amazing new things and get to experience the thrill of superheroes and villains. Yet, at the end of any MCU film, we are still sitting in our cozy homes, watching our YouTube feeds, and in relative comfort. This scene is a sobering one. Peggy says,
"You can go on in your life knowing nothing of loss. Lucky you."
almost as if to remind us, the audience, that we are lucky to live in a world that is not the MCU. When Jarvis's admittance that all is not well reminds us in turn that this world isn't perfect either. I think another amazing concept pulled from this scene is how Peggy reacts to the tantrum. As I said earlier, she does not turn and yell back after Jarvis's final verbal attack. She doesn't go into combat, which, up to this point in the series, has been her go-to reaction to things, and is even shown as her natural reaction in Captain America: The First Avenger, when in jealousy, she actually shoots at Steve's shield. Jarvis is her best friend, and she validates his feelings, then calmly shares her own view of things. She is hurting, and yet stays civil and kind in how she speaks. This shows major growth of her character as she has grown more compassionate and empathetic through the series. In my opinion, I would say that this is really one marvelous scene. As I end the video now, I want to ask that the comments section remain as civil as Peggy's response to Jarvis here. Thanks for watching. Bye! Oh, one more thing. Since many people never watched this show, despite it being part of the MCU, I thought I might include the full scene with audio here. I hope you enjoy it.
Miss Carter. Miss Carter, we must rest.
No, keep moving.
Towards what? We're miles from any sort of structure.
A car will come.
We haven't seen a soul in an hour.
Mr. Jarvis, allow me to clarify that in the future, your opinion on how we proceed is neither wanted nor required. I should have left you at home, but I trusted that you would know how to behave. A mistake I won't make again.
No. No, not when there are so many other mistakes you could make.
What?
I will not apologize for doing the right thing.
The right thing? What you did was reckless and selfish. You risked all of our lives for a personal vendetta.
Which is not unlike you risking our lives to fetch a Russian assassin. You saved Dottie Underwood to assuage your conscience, and my wife, Anna, paid the price.
Leaving Dottie with Whitney Frost would have been tantamount to murder, and unlike you, I'm not a murderer, Mr. Jarvis.
And yet everyone around you dies. I'm sorry. No, I shouldn't have said that.
No, I'm glad you did. You have begged me to bring you on my adventures since I arrived in Los Angeles. And that's what they are to you. Larks. An enjoyable way to spend the evening. And then you go home to another man's mansion, listening to your radio shows, blissful in your self-imposed ignorance. And when there is a consequence, a horrid, ugly consequence, you blame me for the choices that you have made. Yes, Mr. Jarvis, there is a cost. One that I have paid for 100 times over. Your wife will survive. You can go on in your life knowing nothing of loss. Lucky you. I would move instead of sulking, Mr. Jarvis. The moment we escape this desert, we can escape each other forever.
She can't have children.
What?
Anna. Her injuries, there were complications.
Mr. Jarvis, I'm so sorry. The things I said, I didn't know.
How could you know? Nobody knows. Even Anna doesn't know. Because she is married to a coward who can't bring himself to tell her. It's not an excuse because what I did is inexcusable. But I'm truly sorry.
There's no need for any of that, Mr. Jarvis.